بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. وحياكم الله in another episode about the case of Islam and women and how women in Islam is taken care of. Today in this 10th episode of this series, we're talking about mixing of men and women. In this episode, we'll discuss why is it prohibited and what are the evidences. What dangers does it have? Is there a safe mixing? Islamic solutions for this case. Let's take them one by one. First of all, why is it prohibited and the evidences? We are going to discuss this with a little bit of more than one slide. One case, we talk about, first of all, the meeting together, mixing and intermingling of men and women in one place, the crowding of them together, and the revealing and exposure of women to men are prohibited by the law of Islam, which is called Sharia or legislation. That's the fact, first of all. And then comes the case of why. Somebody will ask, why is this prohibited in Islam? Actually, they are among the causes for fitna, temptation or trial, which implies evil consequences. The arousing of desires and the committing of indecency and wrongdoing. That's actually is a big reason or a great reason for this fitna or this problem, actually, when there's a mixing between men and women. Let's see the evidences. The first evidence is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ ذَلِكُمْ أَطْهَرُ لِقُلُوبِكُمْ وَقُلُوبِهِنَّ. And the meaning of that, for anything you want, ask them from before a screen that makes for greater purity for your hearts and for theirs. By the way, this ayah is talking about our mothers, the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember that. It's not they are not regular women, and the men who are talking to, or this speech is directed to, was Sahaba, who are the best men, actually. So if this is told to Sahaba and about our mothers, the wives of Rasulullah, how about the rest of the women and the rest of the men? That's a very important case. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them not to ask them directly or talk to them directly, but there have to be a shield or something between the men and women in that case. Another evidence in here, or the explanation of this verse by Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, one of the greatest mufassirin of Quran, he said, meaning as I forbid for you to enter their rooms, I forbid you to look at them at all. If one wants to take something from them, one should do that without looking at them. If one wants to ask a woman for something, the same has to be done from behind the screen. That's the correct way to deal between men and women to avoid the problems which could happen. Another evidence is that Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that Rasulullah told us about how is the procedure on the masjid when there's women and men are praying together. That's actually before there were no separate place for women. The masjid was one place, so men will be in the front, women will be in the back. How Rasulullah made this system? He Rasulullah said in the hadith that the best of the men's rows is the first. Yani the men now will be praying behind the Imam, who was Rasulullah. The best of these rows behind him is the first one. Why? Because it's far away from women. And the best of the women's rows is the last, and the horses is the closer to the women. So there's a very clear intention of Islam to keep big distance between men and women, even in the masjid. Now, this is the greatest evidence that the law of Islam, Sharia or legislation, forbids meeting and mixing of men and women. The farther the men are from the women's rows, the better, and vice versa. If these procedures and prescriptions were prescribed and adhered to the mosque, remember this case, it's the mosque now, we're not talking about the markets or so on, which is a pure place of worship where people are as far away as they ever are from the arousal of desires and temptation, then no doubt the same procedures needed to be followed even more rigorously at other places. And if these rules are made for the masjid, where there is ibadah, where people are too busy to think of anything else, any bad desires or thinking, what about the other places where there is possibility of shaitan to play around with men and women? Then somebody will ask, tell us about the dangerousness of mixing. What's the problem? Okay, mixing between men and women at work has bad consequences and obvious evil effects on both men and women. That's not only for work, of course, by the way. Work of hospitals, work on companies, whatever, plus even in other places. But why he said work in here? Because there is rapid mixing, and the same persons are mixing almost every day, and that's really will make some problem. Okay, it will include following: haram looking. A man look to the woman, a woman look to the man. Allah has commanded both believing men and believing women to lower their gaze. قل للمؤمنين يغضوا من أبصارهم وقل للمؤمنات يغضن من أبصارهن. And same ayah. يعني lower your gaze when you see a woman. She should lower her gaze when she sees a man, because fitna is there. Somebody will say, no, wait, you people are talking about bad intentions. No, we're not talking about it. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built in human beings like this. It's actually built in that a man will be attracted by women and women will be attracted by a man. That's why a man with a man, there's no attraction. A woman with a woman, no attraction, except for the sick people. We're not talking about them, but we're talking about regular people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he created the human beings, when he created a man, he built in him the attraction of women, and also for them women attraction for a man. Why? Because this is the only way to keep the life going on and children coming on and so on. Otherwise, what's the desire in here? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built that. So if this is built on in every human being, which is called fitrah, then we have to take care of this. طيب. Number 2, it may result in haram touching, which includes shaking hands. Regularly in work, there is a shake hand between colleagues, manager and his subordinates, and so on. And that's actually, the Prophet ﷺ said, which means if one of you were to be stabbed in the hand with an iron needle, that would be better for him than his touching a woman who is not permissible for him. Yes. Any woman which is not permissible. We say that for mahram. Maharim we'll talk about it later on, which means that the so close relative that a man cannot marry. A man with his wife, with his sister, with his daughter, with his aunt, and so on, it's okay, because there's he cannot marry any of them. So this is called mahram, plural of mahram. But for any woman which there's a possibility of marriage later on, then she is not a mahram, then we're not allowed to shake hand or touch. This hadith is discussed as by Albani as sahih. Another dangerousness, which is mixing, may lead to a man being alone with a non-mahram woman, which is haram, because the Prophet ﷺ said, meaning no man is alone with a woman but the third one present is the shaitan. Satan is there. ما خلا رجل بامرأة إلا كان شيطان ثالثهما. It's impossible. Shaitan will be there and he will start to, and that's, يعني, even if this is not acceptable by some people, reality proves that. نسأل الله العافية. Classified صحيح by Sheikh Al-Albani رحمه الله. طيب, another evidence or another point of why mixing is not allowed in Islam. Another of its evil consequences is when a man becomes infatuated with a woman, or vice versa, which is due to mixing and prolonged introduction. There will be some fitna, there will be some attraction, and that's definite for sure. So that will, of course, will be a problem later on, as we will see. That may lead to the breakup of families. Ask about the societies where men and women are mixing, how the families are staying alone, how many divorces are happening. Why? Because mixing. A lot of people are really having a divorce, their children are lost, problems in the courts and so on. Why? Because of mixing. This is one of the greatest reasons for divorce and so on. How many men have neglected their wives and lost their families because they were infatuated with a female classmate or colleague? Definitely. Yani, a man married a woman and he start to see another woman at work and so on. Definitely he will see some women who are more beautiful than his wife. Or even he is already khalas, for some years he's with his wife, he's bored, he wants something new, and he have new women in his work, and maybe he's their boss, and they are dealing with him nicely because he's the boss. That will lead, na'udhu billah, that he will dislike his wife, maybe hurt her, maybe divorce her, and so on. While the true mu'min, who doesn't look to the other woman, he sees his wife as the queen of beauty. That's actually reality, and that's what happened during the whole history for more than 1,400 years. When men do not look to the other women, they see their wives are the best. So why to break their families? طيب. How many women also have lost their husbands and neglected their homes for the same reason? Definitely the husband is not the best man in the world. يعني, whether he's not good looking, no muscles, no this, no that, she will see another man who is far away better than her husband. So she will start to feel that I have bad luck. Why did I get this guy? Why did I accept this guy to be my husband? And that will break the family, definitely. And the children will be lost. Indeed, how many cases of divorce have been caused by haram relationship formed by the husband or wife, and mixing at work was the thing that led to that. Haram relation. Now, if the man starts haram relation with another woman than his wife, the wife is doing the same, then how do they know that this child they have, or these children they are having, are their children? How much the husband will feel that his wife is not his wife now, she's the wife of different men, and the wife will feel the same thing, that her husband is not her husband, he is jumping on so many women during his life. Yani, if they are angry if he marry another wife, or even other 3 wives, how are they going to get, what's their feeling when they know that their husbands are meeting a lot of women and taking them to bed, maybe hundreds of women in his life? Subhanallah. For these and other reasons, Islam forbids mixing that lead to these evils. Is there a safe mixing? The only safe mixing is with the men who are mahram. يعني our a mahram of a woman is the man who is not possible to marry her, like her father, her brother, her son, her uncle, and so on. This mixing in here is no problem, it's allowed in Islam. Or in places where women is with full hijab and accompanied by a mahram. Yani like in Masjid al-Haram, as example, if she is mixing with other men in there with full hijab and she is protected by her mahram, whether he's her father, brother, husband, son, then it's okay in there. She's not going to deal with these men, but she's mixing with them in the same place. There's no problem in here, inshallah ta'ala. What are the Islamic solutions for this problem? There are so many solutions in Islam for this problem, saying we know that mixing and crowding together of men and women is part of today's avoidable yet regrettable affliction in most places, such as markets, hospitals, colleges, etc. That's definite. Today, nowadays, it's impossible to say keep the women all far away from men. There is some mixing, hospitals, work, colleges, so on. طيب, what is the solution? First of all, we will not willfully choose or accept mixing and crowding. That's the first case. We shouldn't accept that. Put in mind that it's not allowed in Islam. We shouldn't accept it. Second point is we take precautions to avoid meeting and mixing of men and women as much as possible, while at the same time achieving desired goals and objectives. And it doesn't mean that no mixing means no productivity. No, it's not true. There is a possibility, and there's examples, alhamdulillah, in this life where women have been, mashallah, reached high level of education, high level of creation on their field and so on, without mixing with men. So we actually do our best to make their own fields alone where they can do the work and do their job. And just an example, hospitals. Can't we have special hospitals for women only, another hospitals for men only? We can. There are women doctors, there are women nurses, there are women workers. So complete hospital should be only for women. Even a woman, when she comes to this hospital, she will be relaxed because she doesn't have to have all these niqab or hijab and so on to enter that. She enters there feeling that she is no trouble in there, all women, and the doctors are women and who are looking at her, maybe sometimes looking to some private parts of her. There's no trouble because this is a woman. Same thing for men. Why am I supposed to be, as a man, to have to go to a woman doctor if there's a man doctor? That's the case. But this is not practiced yet, but we hope inshallah this will happen in the future. This results can be achieved by designing separate places assigned for men and women, as we said, like hospitals, even works, companies and so on. They can have different departments for women and for men. Another solution, also using different doors for each, utilizing modern means of communication such as microphones, video recorders, and so on. Internet now will make it so easy now to work online, discuss online. There is no mixing in this case, with of course complete hijab and so on. And expediting efforts to have enough female teachers to teach women and so on. Yani female doctors, female teachers, female workers for female needs. Is this impossible? It's possible. It's easy. If there is really an intention to do that, to save the ummah, to save Muslims, to save humans from falling into these problems which is happening in so many societies around us. and no one can cover the sun. What's happening in the Western countries, Eastern countries, and so on, where there's mixing, something they themselves have already admitted in their own statistics. How many children come from zina? How many teenagers getting pregnant? And how many? You cannot really count. They themselves admitted that. Also, we show fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as we can by not looking at members of the opposite sex and by applying self-restraints. Yes, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very important in here, that a man, when he thinks that, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my creator, is telling me to lower my gaze, so I shouldn't look to women, whether in the street or in the computer or in my mobile or whatever, or my work and so on. I have to lower my gaze, not to deal with women in this case unless I have to, and so on. This, remembering that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me to do that, so I will be saved. Also the women will have the same way. Now the whole society will be happy if we follow the results, the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in mixing with other genders. Yes, that's true. Jazakumullah khair for watching this video, and remember that share the videos, share the da'wah videos and materials, then you will share the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair. Allahu a'lam wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.